looking pretty.
Thanks. Do you know what? I put a face on especially, and I thought, see if she's wasted my face. And I can't go.
So thankfully, it's not a waste of space. So
It's
your
a
face,
waste of face,
a waste of
exactly.
space. So hopefully we can record. I don't know if Instagram records this.
I
Usually Facebook is pretty good.
Do you know what? We
So
might not want to, the first one.
no, we
Let's see how
shouldn't. We
this one
shouldn't. So
goes.
whoever misses it, you miss it. You miss it, you miss
Yeah,
out. Okay.
absolutely. All right, go on.
Yes. So let's talk about our favorite things to talk about. Kids. Kids.
Yeah, so tell me, Oyen, what was it that you thought this time is now to start this series?
I think because I've spoken to so many parents, until I started doing this, it was kind of like a eureka for me because I've not, especially when it came to the parenting bit, I've only just started that side recently. And the number of people that I speak to that will be like, oh, thank you. Oh, this is the issue that I have. This is the issue that I have. And there's such a need, Sarah.
Mhm.
There is such a need. And I tell people, we keep talking about our young people, how dysfunctional they're acting, how juvenile they are. And we keep complaining about our young people. But what are we doing? Complaining doesn't change anything. Complaining doesn't change anything. It's a question of what are we going to do to help these young people out? And I had started working with, I started working with young people last year. And it got to a point where after working with so many of them, I'm realizing like, honey, we're complaining about these kids, but there's a fundamental problem. There's a fundamental problem. And we know what that is, Sarah. And so you've been working with young people for ages, way longer than I have. So tell me what your experiences have been with these young people.
Um, so through coaching, so we're both qualified coaches. It's important to say that, and that's where we're coming from, parents and coaches. And that what I see from our young people is there's a real narrative that this is a lost generation, and especially following COVID. These kids are useless. They're not able to communicate. They're lazy. Blah blah blah. And it really, really annoys me. And what I hear working with young people and parents who get in touch is their children are feeling a real lack of confidence, a lack of self-esteem, a lack of motivation. And it's really not surprising considering everyone's telling them that, well, not everyone, but as a general kind of statement, that people are telling them that, the future is useless for you, which is just not true.
No.
So, it's working with young people to really try and boost their confidence, to show them that there is a path ahead and actually empower them to know and to come up with some of the solutions for themselves.
I love what you do because your business coaches young people.
Mm-hmm.
You actually coach them to be able to be confident and not just think of themselves, but think of the impact they can make in the environment, which is amazing. And I think it's very, very empowering. So what I do, I help the kids become better versions of themselves. Mm-hmm. But you focus on empowering these kids, not just for themselves, but for the greater society, which I think a lot of us are not making that effort to do. As you said, we've just relegated them and say, oh, if this is our future, then we don't have a future. We are just pointing out the problem without trying to figure out a solution.
Absolutely. And employers, have got a big responsibility to help young people learn how to work in this new kind of landscape. And it's expecting kids to come out of school knowing how to communicate with someone, knowing how to send an email, knowing how to interact with clients. They're not going to know that. They have to be shown how to do it. And that's always been the way. And as parents, I think we've got a responsibility to look at what other options, and it's fair to say that a lot of parents don't know what options are out there. It's vast, absolutely vast. So where do you even begin?
Yeah.
But even starting with, when they're a very young age, is if we can,
I love that bit, Sarah.
yeah,
I love that bit.
if we
Starting
can,
from when they are
yeah,
young.
yeah,
Because if we're building the future of tomorrow, now we're talking about the teens now, we can still fix it from
yeah,
the
yeah,
cradle. We can start from there.
yeah. We can't call this generation snowflakes. I hear that a lot,
I love
and
you use that word, don't you?
yeah. People will say to me, "Oh, the kids today they're snowflakes," and I say, "How old's your child?" And they go 17. I say, "Okay, but it's our fault. It's our generation that is raising these snowflakes," which is such a ridiculous statement,
You
because
know,
we shelter them.
it takes a lot for a parent to admit this generation, this breed, if my kids are within this breed, it's my fault. It's
Yeah,
my fault.
we are part of the problem.
We are part of the problem. But how can you tell a parent you contributed to where we are? How can you say that to a parent?
Yeah, and it will duck after you say it, for one thing, or run out of the way.
But
Because one size doesn't fit all. It's like there isn't a right way of parenting, right? And this is not the point of this conversation. We know what to do, and you should do it this way. That's
no,
absolutely not the
no,
case. What we're
no.
saying is that there's a way to have a conversation with young people, and encourage them to have really strong self-esteem, so that they know that they are not going to be lost, that they do have
Yeah,
options. The school system is broken. Teachers are doing their absolute best with very little. And it's what's the saying? It takes a village to raise a child, and it really does. And it's at home, it's in schools, it's the community. If you don't have that, it's really difficult. It's easy to feel really isolated as well.
yeah,
And coaching is really a tool that you can use in order to prevent some of the mental ill health that we're seeing in young people,
yeah,
so that they don't get to the crisis point.
yeah,
And that's the danger. That's the scary thing about young people, is that they're at
yeah.
breaking point. And if they can't function because their physical body or their mental health won't allow them to, we've got a real
Yeah.
problem. That
So,
was very preachy, wasn't it?
so what you're saying, Sarah, is that there is hope. So,
Absolutely, of
so
course.
for that parent that has a teenager, or for that school that has a group of young people and they want to bring out the best in them, or that workplace that have a generation of employees that are considered snowflakes,
Yeah.
there's something that can be done. So we can't give up on the generation of young people that we have.
Absolutely not. Imagine if we did.
No.
How
So
awful would that
we
be?
can fix it. We can fix it. I think people
If
should
it's
realize that we shouldn't give up on these young people. There are people out there like you, like me, that can help
many more, yeah.
bring. There's so many, and there are a lot of young coaches, people that are coaching young people now. And sometimes people think, "Oh, what's a coach? Who needs a coach?" It is, when I was
It
doing
was.
my training, I didn't understand fully until I was in a position to be coached, and it's just mind blowing what
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
does for you.
yeah.
It makes you see
And maybe it's
yourself
worth explaining what
different light.
coaching is, actually, because for some people that are listening, they've got no idea what coaching
Yeah.
is. And it's a big assumption sometimes. It's very much like counselling or mentoring, and coaching is not a
No,
therapy.
no.
So it's not about giving advice or giving your opinion. It's not about delving into the past to unravel things that have happened to bring that person to this point. It's very much forward facing. So where are you now? Where do you want to get to? And a coach will help you get there purely by asking questions.
Yes.
And it's asking questions to raise awareness about ourselves and our own options and strategies that we can create. And if we create them ourselves, they're much, much more meaningful than someone telling us what to
Absolutely.
do.
So let's touch on that. We've talked about, so if there's a parent watching here, watching now or later on and say, okay, I have a young kid. My child is young. What are the things that I can do to help my child in future that I don't end up having a snowflake?
Yeah,
That was
that's that's a
the
terrible
first time I
term.
heard that word. Snowflakes. For those that don't know what terming what the society terms as snowflakes, they're like young people. You know how a snowflake drops and before you know it, it melts and disappears. Um, they don't have grit. There's no resilience. They're not driven to do anything. They're quite, laid back. I'm a parent. There's someone here, a parent with young people, with a young child, maybe even a toddler or not yet a teenager. But what are the kind of things that we can do as parents to help our kids
Yeah.
become
Mhm.
responsible, become confident, become non-snowflakes in the society? What
Yeah.
are those things?
I think so. I think it starts as early as you possibly can, and that's around labeling things. So for a young person, for example, who is upset, they come back from say, early primary school or even as in nursery and they're upset about something, and we give them a cuddle, right, and we say it's going to be okay, and that's all that they want, and we could leave it at that, and they will feel happy.
Yeah,
But it's trying to get them to really kind of identify or label what that feeling
yeah,
is. And they do a lot more in primary schools on this and emotion work than they ever used to, and that's really valuable. Because if you've got a child who's feeling sad and you say to them, "What's up with you?" The general conversation, "What's up with you?" Nothing. Oh, but your face is saying something different. I'm just a bit fed up, and we leave it at that.
mm,
But if we dig a little bit deeper and we say, "You look sad. What's that about?"
yeah,
Oh, well, nothing. And they might not tell you straight away,
mm,
but if you revisit it, you look sad, but was it sadness? And they say, no, I'm just fed up with this person at school always having a go at me. And it's getting them to identify what that emotions are and what their feelings are, because then they're able to express themselves much more
yeah,
clearly. And when they can express themselves and they're listened to, because we're really good at not listening as humans. We've got too much head
mm.
noise. Things are going on. The world is kind of clanging around us, okay? And we're jangly and there's just
I
so
think
much going
especially
on. And a
when
young
you're a
person,
parent, you've come back from work, you need to make food, you need to do this, and you have a child that's sulking, like, get over it, we've got stuff to do. That doesn't
exactly.
happen.
If we can, exactly. And if we can take a moment, and this is very much a coaching approach, to stop what we're doing as much as we can and turn to that person and really listen, they're going to feel much more valued. We
Yeah,
all as humans, we like to be listened to. We feel important when we're listened to. And that's what they want. And even spending that bit of time of just really kind of focusing on what they're saying and getting them to really understand what that means, what they want to do with those feelings.
mm,
Do they need help? Maybe they can deal with it themselves. And that's part of giving them independence, isn't it? And I was talking about this last night, actually. If we've got a young person, we will teach them how to butter their own toast, right? Because we want to increase that independence skills. And then we're like, yeah,
some
you
parents do.
did it. Well, some parents do, yeah, or if they eat their own petit poulou or the yogurt themselves, and we're like, yay, and they take the first steps, everyone's yay. When does that stop? It gets to a point where we stop helping them to be independent and it's almost expected or we let them off the hook with it.
Yeah,
And I don't know the answer to that, but there is a point that we stop encouraging that independence.
you're right. You're actually right. Because when they're kids, you're excited wanting them to do stuff, and then all of a sudden you stop encouraging them to do stuff, and you're like, it's easier for me to just do it for you.
Yeah.
How do we get to that point?
And we're depriving them
You know
then of
what?
an
I never
opportunity to grow
thought
and
about
learn.
it like that. Because when they're little kids, you're encouraging them, eat yourself, put your thing here, and then we just stop.
We stop, I don't know when. I mean, it's a genuine question. I don't know when I mean, something to really reflect
Because
on
I didn't
because there
even
must
think
be a
about
moment.
that. Didn't
No.
think about
Yeah.
that.
And then we moan because they don't put their washing in the wash basket, and they won't put their simply pick up. My son is just as bad. Like, why is that bowl still on the table? Put it in the sink, please. Okay, sorry. And he knows full well. But of course, they will push the boundaries and see what they can get away with, and that's absolutely normal and
Yeah.
should happen. because that's them just testing out what they can do and what they can't do. And there's a level of consistency that we need as parents, as employers, as teachers, that what we say we're going to do, we actually do it. And as trusted adults and trusted people in their lives, we have to be consistent.
And that's the issue that we sometimes have, the lack of consistency, the lack of follow through. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and she said, and I think I did it in one of my videos, she's always threatened her child. If you're not ready, I'm going to leave you behind. If you're not ready, I'm going to leave you behind. And she never did it. She never did it. And the guy's like, say that all the time. Say that all the time. And this one day, she said, if you're not in the car in 5 minutes, I'm leaving you. And she left. She left. And she said that was the last day the kid tried to call her bluff, because she followed through. And the thing is, it takes sometimes, and what I say is,
the dangerous game to play.
If you say there's a consequence to an action, honey, you need to follow through with it.
Yeah. And the false promise thing, because at a certain age, the kids are going to say, you're not going to do that. There's no way you're going to do that, right? And then they're like, I want to test you out. Will you do it? Will you? And then you do it. And they're like, oh my goodness, you've left me behind, So but it's being safe with that, right? And making sure that you're not going to give them any kind of trauma with a small t, by doing these things. But but explaining that there is a consequence and following through with that. Absolutely.
I think the consequences should be on par with the crime. And it doesn't have to be, consequences really don't have to be anything extreme. It doesn't have to be anything extreme. It could be, if you don't do your dishes, then you don't get to watch TV. If you don't.
What I do, right, or I did when they were younger, is ask them to pick their punishment. Well, what do you think the punishment should be? Because I might say, right, no telly for a week. And nowadays they're like, yeah, whatever. Or, you might pick something and they go, okay, fine. But they're going to pick the thing, especially when they're younger. When they get older, they get a bit crafty towards that. But if you ask them they're young, they will come up with the worst thing possible for them.
Really?
So just and again, it's about giving them choices, isn't it? It's about helping them realise that, you've got a choice whether in the behaviour you either decide that you're going to do that knowing it's not the right thing to do, or you're going to make the right choice and you're going to do the right thing. It's up to you. And even sometimes knowing that they've got that power within them to make a choice and have that bit of independence can be quite powerful for them.
Yeah.
I wonder if we should see if there's any questions or if anybody wants to put any comments in.
Yes.
I can't.
Does anybody have any questions? If you have any comments or questions, I think we have about 5 minutes left because we started pretty late. Because we said it was 30 minutes. We can't. Sarah,
I could chat all night.
I love to chat. So if anyone has any questions, put in there. I was speaking to someone today, and it's all about, it has what we talk about in coaching, intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. And this this person we're just chatting, and he says, oh, his son plays football. I think his son is about 7. His son plays football, and he always, every time, he tells his son, every time you score a goal, I'll give you £1. And you could just imagine the reaction on my face, Sarah.
What?
Your kid is 7. So why is he playing football for you, or is he playing football for himself? If you're telling a kid at age 7, for every goal you score, I'll give you £1. So why is he playing football?
Yeah, for the money or the enjoyment.
Is it the money or the enjoyment? Why? Because you've taken that thing from him. The ability to have an intrinsic reason to play football, which is, I love football, I enjoy football, it makes me happy. You've taken that from that child and you've replaced it with an extrinsic motivation, which does not last, which would not be eternal, which would not be there forever. So what then happens when you decide, okay, you know what, I'm not giving you a pound anymore. Does that then change his mental outlook on the sport? I no longer want to play football, even though it makes me happy, even though it gets me excited. I enjoy it. I'm not playing it anymore because dad is not giving me this money. So let's talk about some of these things. What are things that are okay, and what are things that you allow kids? And we're talking about grit, we're talking about snowflaking, we're talking about kids being able to have an intrinsic motivation to do stuff. And that would impact them in their future. They're not doing things because, oh, this is what mom wants me to do, or dad wants me to do, or this is what my teacher wants me to do, but I want to do this for myself because it makes me a better person. So let's talk about that.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's every parent's going to think they're doing the right thing, and it's maybe what their parents have done for them and it worked for them. But what rewarding someone with money is there is a way of teaching them how to be responsible with money or how to earn money. So you've talked about chores before in your video. Do you pay your child to do chores? First thing, chores I think is a terrible word because who wants to do chores? I mean, it's like, could you come and do this really horrible job, please? No, thanks. It's not a surprise they're going to say no. And one person's cleaning, is their idea of hell. Another person, that's their idea of therapy. So it's, I guess it's what is going to motivate that person. So if they want to give up on something, for example, so like a sport, they don't want to do it anymore. And if you say to them, I'll give you a pound, like I say, it's going to be really short-lived. They might do it until they've got enough money to buy a new PlayStation game or something, and that'll be it, right? And if they're not particularly good at football, and they're not going to score goals, that's going to make them feel even worse.
Yeah.
Because they've got no chance of earning any money. And thinking about their teammates as well, how does that support their teammates when they're only scoring goals not for their team but for their own pocket? So thinking about what is it that motivates them, again, it's asking them, it's putting it back on your child to say, what is it you need in order for you to kind of follow that through or to get enjoyment out of that? Or is it a case you want to give up? I'm a big believer in it's okay to stop doing something, it's okay to give up, but you've done everything in your power to reignite that passion for whatever it was you were doing, or you've given it a long enough time to see if that's still the case in, say, 4 weeks' time or 3 months' time. And the chores thing, I think absolutely the responsibility needs to be given for young people so they've got jobs to do. It's jobs in our house. So what's your job? What's my job? And then we mix it up, and then I will hear, but that's not my job. Well, it is now, or what would you rather do? This is your choices. Yeah. And they choose. But there is pocket money that's given as well, but if they've not done any jobs and they've not done anything to be helpful, then pocket money doesn't happen. But then what he buys with his pocket money is up to him. Yeah. But I will say to him, right, but that's 3 weeks of jobs that you've done. Is that worth 3 weeks of jobs then? And then he gets to decide whether that's been worth it or not. But that's not going to work for every child. No. So it's finding out what is going to work for you. So it's trial and error sometimes too.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about the intrinsic motivation, having to have conversation with your child, and I think if every parent and everyone that relates with anybody has a coaching mindset, it's about you asking the right questions to allow the person to think through their actions or their inactions. And when they think it through and come with that solution, it's more powerful. So you ask a child, why do you want to play football? What's the reason you want to play football? Do you enjoy football? Talk me through what you think about football. Mm-hmm. And then it helps them know this is how it gives them a better understanding, which therefore gives them a reason to push ahead. And this applies in everything. So you ask a child, why do I need to do it? Why do you think you need to do it? It's about asking questions. And I think if we all have that coaching mindset, it makes so much difference. So
absolutely,
such a huge difference. This has been amazing.
The world would just be a nicer place, I think, if we all had access to a coach or coaching skills. And it is much more accessible. It's much more affordable than it ever used to
Yes,
be. It's
because
not
you
for
run
senior exec.
coaching, run coaching sessions in Aberdeen, so people can always
Yeah,
get in
absolutely.
touch.
Coaching skills. They can learn to coach. They can access coaching for themselves, for their young ones. Absolutely, as do you do.
Yeah, but you are a coach's coach. I'm not a
A
coach's
coach's
coach. I'm a coach.
coach.
So
I
you're a
like that.
coach's coach.
Coach's coach.
So Sarah is a coach's coach. She runs the founder of Lightbulb.coach, and you have your next cohort in February. Is that
Yeah,
fully
there's
booked?
one on the 19th. There's still a couple of spaces on that one, and I've got another one in June. I should know the dates off the top of my head, but I don't. So
So
yeah,
have a look at your website and your Facebook page. Having a coaching mindset, I have learned so much from my coaching that I have applied in every area of my life. So I'm no longer giving people what I think is the solution, but I'm letting them think it through. And it makes a huge difference in how you relate with your children, how you relate with people. So you don't have to do a coaching course to become a coach, but
no,
changing
absolutely.
your mindset. It's about changing your mindset. And if we all have that approach, it makes communicating with people so much easier, and it helps you bring out the best in the people that you work with,
Definitely.
the people that you live with. So
The easiest way, I think, to start having a coaching mindset is stop being a fixer. So instead of jumping in and fixing the problem, ask what do they need in order to solve the problem or to do the task? Is there anything that they need from you? Is it any other resources or any other support from elsewhere? And get them thinking about what are your options? What could you do? And then ask what else, what else, what else? Get them to come up with a few different ideas for themselves. And then if they can't do that, then yeah, you might give them a bit more help. But spending that time to get them to come up with ideas and not being the savior, giving them the time to figure it out for themselves is much more impactful. And you're not depriving them of being able to learn and grow.
yeah, love it, love it, love it. We're gonna have to wrap up because remember, Sarah, we said
I know,
30
Sarah,
minutes.
I don't even know what time it is because I'm on my phone obviously now and I
My
can't see it. But
phone
thank you for everyone who came along and listened in for the full time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for encouraging us. We were planning on just chatting away if no one showed up. Because me and Sarah, we love a chat. We love a
You too.
chat. We're both passionate about young people, and we usually can go on and on and on. So I'm hoping we can do this every month. This is the first Thursday, so my plan is every Thursday. So those of you that joined in, thank you so much. Hopefully next time I'll suss out Facebook because I think Facebook would help you save the video. I don't know whether Instagram saves it. So hopefully I'll critique tomorrow. You're in trouble,
Yeah,
Sarah. Kim is going to critique it
I'll
tomorrow.
get some crazy feedback, I'm sure.
But thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Sarah, for joining.
Thank
Love
you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
We're gonna do
Take care.
great. All right.
All
Bye.
right, I'm going to switch off now, I guess. Can I do
Yes, I
that?
think. I don't know how it's done.
I don't know either. We are so bad at this.